All right, so who is ready to start stitching? So in this video, we're just going to kind of go over the kit and then how to start creating it. So in the kit, you have two patterns. One is the I Heart BCU and one is the rainbow for our source group on campus. For this demo, I'm going to use that first I Heart BCU pattern. And then in the kit itself, you have several things that you'll need except for scissors. So if you don't have those, go grab them. Inside the kit, you have a needle. Just take the needle out of the felt. You don't need the felt. And then also you have the thing you're going to be stitching on, and that's the Aida cloth in a hoop. And then you have a couple bobbins full of thread. So the more colorful bobbin full of thread, or there might be two, is for the rainbow, and then the one with three colors is for the I Heart BCU, and that's the one I'm going to be using. Okay, and then we need to, get started here. So the first thing we do is we're going to look at our pattern, and we're going to start in the middle of the pattern so we can make sure our design is centered in the hoop. So the middle of this pattern is that red stitch right there. That's part of the outline of the heart. So that is where I'm going to start, and I need to thread my needle with red thread. So I'm going to take a piece of the red thread. It's about, the length of my arm. I was trying to show you, but you can't fit in. So, it's not too long, not too short, about the length of your arm. And then a normal embroidery thread is made up of 6 strands, but we only need 2 for cross stitch. So we need to separate 2 strands from the piece of thread. So here I'm slowly pulling them apart. And there we have our 2 strands. So now we need to thread our needle. And your needle at one end has an eye. And that is just that little hole that you're going to put the thread through. So now I'm just moistening the end of it with my lips and kind of smushing it together with my fingers. And then I'm just going to thread it through the eye of the needle and then pull some of it through. So now I have a long tail and then a short tail there, and I need to put a knot on the end of the long tail. So I just do a very simple knot. There are several different kinds of fancy knots, and if you're a crafter, maybe you know some, but I am just doing the most basic knot that, we learned growing up. So I knot it once, I knot it twice, and then because I am always, just a little worried, I knot it 3 times, which is a little overkill, so you just need to knot it twice. And then you just trim the end there. All right, so now you have your threaded needle and you're ready to start. Okay, then I'm grabbing, again, my pattern, again, reminding myself, okay, I'm starting in the middle. That's the stitch. So I'm going to start right in the middle of that hoop to put that stitch in, and I'm going to come up through the back to the front. So I'm going to pick in the middle and then come up through the front. And then I'm going to go back down. So I'm going to go diagonally and I'm going to go back down in one of the other little holes. So again, remember, each little hole is the corner of a square. So I first, went up and then I went back down, making that little square, and then I'm going to do the same exact thing. So again, coming up through one of the little holes and then going back down to form a little X. So that is how you form a stitch. And then I need to look back at my pattern because where is my next stitch going to go? So I can see that I'm going over one and up one. So I'm going over one square and up one square to make my next red stitch. So again, I'm coming up through one of the holes and then going down again diagonally, coming up and then going back down to make an X. So again, I went over one and up one to make my next stitch. And then I'm going to look and see where I need to do my next one. Again, I'm going over one and up one and then doing 3 in a row. So I'm going over one, up one, and then making 3 right next to each other. So one of my tips for cross stitch is just to take a little bit of time and stare at the Aida cloth. Just stare at it. Have a stare down with the Aida, because eventually you're going to see the little squares instead of a bunch of little teeny tiny pinprick holes. You're going to see the squares. So you make those stitches in 4 steps. 1 diagonal, at one up, one down to make one diagonal line, and then one up, one down again to make the other diagonal line to finish the X. So now I'm showing you how to finish off a piece of thread. So if you need to change colors or if you need to finish the project. So there are several stitches that I'm going to go through with my needle on the back of the Aida cloth. So I'm just going through several stitches with my needle. You see it's all the way through there, and then just pulling it through. Very, very simple. You don't need to make another knot, and then you just trim it. And there you go. That's how we're stitching.